Welcome back to another episode of AirwaySim. First of all, I'll show you guys how the game we've been playing more the passenger world, what's going on here. And as we can see, we have a declining profit. A lot of this is due to fuel price, and the other thing is a lot due to the fact that we have a really large number of aircraft mounting. As you can see here, we have 140 unused aircraft, and while a lot of these are very small planes that don't cost us a lot of the planes are actually quite decently sized and costing us a lot to lease if we don't fly them. I will go ahead and knock this scheduling out soon. I won't do it on camera because that would take literally hours, especially when I'm talking and I think a little bit slower than I normally do. The other thing that happened is our airline generations went bankrupt. We manually declared bankruptcy. The timing of the fuel spike and being a new airline with low route image routes cost me a lot. And as you can see, we did not survive, and I manually bankrupt the airline because we were not going to recover. Anyhow, I have started a new one where our margins are much better. We're starting with around a 30% margin to 24% margin. If we take a look at our scheduling, we have a couple very inefficient schedules and an unused 747. And this is because I don't want to actually use the 747 as a fleet. These were leased at very minimum prices, and they're just here to fly a couple starter routes, which we kind of plan to make some money from at the beginning. And then we're going to go straight to making 7 days of bread and butter routes. And in order to kind of be able to afford such a thing, my plan is to kind of, instead of building the entire 7 day out, which I like to do because it's simple, I'll build a single day of multiple to build image as much as we can afford. And then when they all hit 100 image, then we will go ahead and apply those routes to like all 7 days instead of just one day of the seven. And that kind of way, I think it's just a much smarter way to really efficiently grow route image instead of burn money like it's like paper and nothing, you know what I mean? So anyhow, with that in mind, let's go ahead and order a new aircraft. And I'm gonna go ahead and order a new not a new but a 777F. If we take a look at the 777 here, there is only a single available leasable freighter. Well, there's actually two now. No, there's only one. And this is the one we are going to get. And hopefully they allow extensions. Yes, perfect. Because this means we can use this plane forever, basically. And yeah, we're going to use this as kind of a thing to launch our 777 scheduling off. And the reason we use a 777 is because the turnaround time really is so much lower than the 747 that it's the only practical way to use it. Now, Atlanta has a lot of cargo demand, but I don't want to fly to Atlanta directly to compete with Atlanta is the only airport in its kind of area. 8,600,000 overlap. 600,000. Yeah, Atlanta, there's actually no competitive airport for Atlanta cargo because, yeah, as you can see, Atlanta is the only airport there. So we will have to compete directly with the passenger legs and that kind of thing. But that's okay because there's actually a good amount of cargo demand here. So let's go ahead and make that as our first cargo route. And I'm going to very quickly kind of start to make routes after this, and I'm gonna try to explain a little bit why I decided to make each route where I did. But other than that, yeah, let's start to make this 7 day. Let's just see what kind of cargo partition we need because I forgot, and we're gonna repeat this for every route. Let's see. Our total is 350,000, and we have 100,000 of this. That's like 30%. And then we have, what is this? Maybe like 45%. So 30, 45, and whatever's left. 30, 45, 25. All right, perfect. This will be our cargo partition probably for every American cargo route. It might not be perfect, but it's close enough. And especially since most cargo flights aren't full, it's not a problem. And our next flight is going to be 1250. So let's say we want to make a route to LAX. We first check LAX. We see that there's no demand. Or not very much demand. For every 120,000 I supply, I only get 37,000 demand. So it's probably not worth making a route to the LAX area yet, and especially not to LAX. Let's take a look at Chicago. Chicago looks quite good. 11,000 supply, 24,000 demand, and very interestingly, there's no competition in ORD, right? So we're going to fly directly to ORD. There is some passenger belly cargo competition, but we're going to supply so much cargo eventually that this belly cargo won't be a significant portion of the cargo demand in total. And yeah, I really do think that the 777 here is going to be significantly better than 747s, even though at this point we're probably going to be able to get 747s for a mere fraction of the price of the 777. Probably like cheaper than A330s and 20s and many worlds we can get 747 freighters, but the turnaround time is going to make them so inefficient. All right, so let's check the Dallas hub area next. This is great demand, but unfortunately we don't want to compete with other freighters, so let's go to look at other Dallas airports. Let's go to Dallas Love Field and take a look, and as we can see there's much less competition here, so we're going to open the route here. This is kind of the thought process when we make a lot of cargo routes is instead of flying directly to the airport you want to go to, you can fly to an airport with less demand and pull the demand over there with your very large freighters. Starting with medium freighters in 757s was a bit of a mistake last time, I believe. You should always want to start with a very large freighter unless there just isn't enough demand in your base, in which case there's probably not enough demand in order to run an effective cargo airline in that base in the first place. Luckily, we kind of caught that before it got too far, and we can now fly these 777s without too much worry. Now, I forget the second airport in Denver, so I'm going to go into the airport information page, and I'm going to click over here, and we see it's Colorado Springs. And let's see the proportion of demand. Let's see, 450,000 or 4.5 million out of 6 million is close enough. So I'm going to open a route to Colorado Springs whenever I see it. Of course, it's not on this page, so we're not going to do that yet. Minneapolis has great demand. I don't think there's alternates though, but let's check just in case. And yeah, Minneapolis has 0 alternates, which is kind of unfortunate because if we ever want to compete with this, we have to use 757s. Luckily, we do have 757s, so we can indeed do that at some point. Let's take a look at Fort Lauderdale here. And see if it overlaps with Orlando too much, because we already have a flight to Orlando, so we don't want to compete with ourselves. And we can see that it barely overlaps with Orlando. Fort Lauderdale will basically be our Miami airport, I guess, because Miami probably has a little bit more competition. Oh, Miami has less competition. Okay, we'll fly straight to Miami then. Always find it interesting when the quote-unquote main airport of somewhere actually has less demand than... or has less competition than the secondary cargo airports, but sometimes it's just like that. So let's go ahead and we got the turnaround time messed up. Fly our 777 here, and yeah, man, I miss using the 777. It has less availability than the 747, so I rarely use it. But when I do use it, I have to say it performs noticeably better, to the point where it feels bad using the 747 after having used the 767, or not the 767, the 747, even though the 747 is a perfectly adequate plane, and there is no competition to Charlotte Cargo, which is brilliant. And I really need to change this to an open new route page, because this is taking forever, so let's go ahead and do that. And you don't mind the fact I ordered too many 747s earlier, in the sense that I have 3 of them and I only plan on using 2 of them as the kind of profit base, but that's okay, especially when you order cheap aircraft. You just let them sit around and it doesn't cost you much. Yeah, 1550 for the passenger airline. By the way, I have 120 aircraft to use. That will take a long time to start to whittle down on that, but hopefully we can knock that out soon. I am pretty busy in the next couple days though, so by the time I start doing that, I might have like, I don't know, 100 aircraft to use, but we'll take care of that somehow. Yeah, just someday I'll realize that I've got no homework or something like that, and everything's done, and then we'll be able to go ahead and do that. Yeah, Anyhow, let's go take a look at Phoenix now. Oh, Seattle. Seattle's a great cargo hub, and there's actually no competition here. So we can go ahead and open this. And yeah, as you can see, without turnaround times and short haul air, we can see just the crazy coverage of just a few aircraft and how much cargo demand we're going to be able to pull with 10 aircraft. Or like 7 aircraft, you know what I mean? By the time we have this route fully flushed out with 7 aircraft, we're going to be serving a really, really crazy amount of cargo demand because of just like how compact this schedule is. It'll be really wild, yeah, and kind of fun. I kind of can't wait to kind of see what happens there. So yeah, and as you can see, like there's no competition to these cargo routes. And how do I know that we're going to get cargo demand to these bases is simply because I'm almost sure nobody else is flying domestic wide body cargo, which means people in opposing airports like New York or Boston who are competing with me basically. Bradley, for those who don't know, is an airport that is right next to, or not right next to, but closest to Boston and decently close to New York, meaning it pulls cargo from both. Not right now, but eventually when the circle expands a little bit. Yeah, anyhow, I think my point was I know that there's going to be cargo demand simply because we're going to pull enough to be profitable because of the really, really low amount of cargo the 777 needs to be profitable. To be profitable, the 777 needs probably only about 20% load factor. It's a little bit worse for short haul where you might need 22 or 3%. Even during like a fuel spike, it is very easy to have this amount of cargo and be profitable. And if you ever get into the mid 30s, you're going to be printing money like nothing. And by the time you get to 50 or 60% load factor in a 777, you'll be printing something like 3 to 4 million per week net with a single 777. It's actually quite rare that you can get enough cargo to have a 50% load factor 777 anywhere, which is completely full one way and almost empty the other way, right? So if you get a full one, you can print even more. You can print like 6 million net, something like that. But it's all where can you find a route with two-way 100% cargo? It doesn't really exist. But if it did, that would be really cool. Anyhow, yeah, as you can see, as we go down the list, there's less and less competition. So we can kind of just, like, especially if you know American geography, this is going to make this process a lot easier, where if you see an airport name, you know that is the most major airport in that area, right? So if you check that airport, the major one, and there's no competition, we can be sure there's no minor airports providing cargo competition. If you didn't know American geography, you might not know when you're looking at 2 airports that are next to each other, in which case you just have to check the circles. Right, and to check the circles, we click on airport information, and then we can click here, and we can see that, you know, this is a mostly isolated airport which shares very little with competing airports. So we can go ahead and open the route with no worries of competing on cargo demand. And yeah, this is just kind of the process with cargo, and I gotta say, I do miss flying cargo routes a lot. There's something really fun and relaxing about not worrying about takeoff times or turnaround times, and just looking at the demand and thinking about what to do. It's kind of relaxing. Passengers care about turnaround times, they care about delays, they care about all sorts of things that, quite frankly, can be a bit of a hassle to deal with. I don't think I have a flight to San Fran, so if Oakland's good, we'll use it, but it's not. If Oakland's not good and San Jose is good, we can use San Jose, but San Jose is also not good, so we'll just kind of skip the San Francisco Bay Area for now and go straight to New Orleans, which for some reason generates very good cargo demand. Maybe that's true in real life. I'm not sure what New Orleans really does except for being pretty cultural city and being the port for the Mississippi-Missouri River, which I guess is a pretty significant role. Anyhow, let's just go ahead and keep using the same cargo partitions, keep opening these routes. And it's really interesting making a single day of a 7-day. It's actually quite relaxing. So yeah, anyhow, 1645 is our next takeoff. And as you can see, making these cargo routes is really not hard. Um, what it is it is not unprofitable to start, which can make it feel unrewarding and difficult, which is even what happened to me on this start, right? Is I overexpanded a little bit too quickly. And despite how profitable cargo can be, I went bankrupt due to picking a poor-ish strategy and being a bit too greedy with opening routes and not having enough image and opening the entire 7 day. We will try to avoid that this time, which is pretty easy. We just have to not make 7 days of non-profitable routes, and instead we make one at a time when we have the chance. I can even hopefully even start to purchase and convert my own 777s pretty soon with just a couple profitable ones, driving my income, especially since this is going to be a patient start, as we've been able to see. Uh, I simply won't be able to expand too quickly with the restrictions in place. So yeah, anyhow, later on, I'm going to take over a new base. I'm going to go ahead and 7 day the entire demand whenever I feel like it, basically. You know what I mean? It's like, I will look at the demand pool. Um, then I'll go, how much do I want to serve this, right? Is it worth it? Blah, 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 blah. And then I can go ahead and 7 day the entire pool of demand without worrying about profits, because that is just how profitable cargo can be, is that we could subsidize 50 aircraft losing money with 50 aircraft making money. However, right, when we have the low margins of the kind of start we got last time, the super long haul 757s, and the really weird bug we got where the game reported we'd get full load and we didn't, making the margin much, much thinner. Yeah, that was kind of an issue, and hopefully we don't run into that this time. And of course, if we don't, I'm pretty confident in our ability to actually scale properly this time. Yeah, anyhow, we are going to continue to just, yeah, as we can see, we're knocking out the first page of US demand. One thing you may have noticed is how compact the flight is, not in terms of just the look of it having no turnaround times, but the fact we're on the middle of the second page of the best US cargo routes to a pretty major city in Boston, right? Because Bradley basically covers the same area as Boston. And we're only one page in, right? That is why short haul cargo is worth so much less than long haul cargo. But there's just so much volume because of the amount of flights we're going to do. So yeah, I just thought I'd point that out because it's pretty interesting and pretty funny. So yeah, anyhow, this is probably going to be the last flight of this 7 day. We don't have to worry about landing at exactly the correct time too much, because it's just not too important. We can even probably fit in a really short flight here if we wanted to. But let's see. I mean, maybe we can find somewhere. Probably can't, but let's see. 1705, 90-minute turnaround. If we can find somewhere like less than 400 nautical miles away, we can actually do this for sure. Pittsburgh is probably good. Pittsburgh probably has good cargo demand. Yep, it does. So we can go ahead and open this. Pittsburgh, 1705. And that should be a very compact, very, very nice 7 day schedule. Perfect. And as you can see, we will have enough turnaround time. And yeah, there we go. That is a plane which is going to serve hundreds, thousands of tons per week. Not hundreds of thousands, thousands of tons per week probably, though. Once the route image is fully cooked. Anyhow, that's it for today. I'm going to go schedule a ton of short haul aircraft. Yeah, it's going to be pretty tedious, right? And you've seen me do it before. We're just going to keep doing it. Just, I guess, some update stuff is for base airports. Our next base is probably going to be Dallas. It's a non-7-daying base, but that makes it easier to do, and I just think there's a lot of open demand there. Anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.